Real estate markets crashing. From Greg B2. He says, during a national housing price decline, is the first market to get hit usually the luxury markets? Your response was San Francisco was the first market crushed across the country.
Yeah. So the answer to that question is no. I mean, I think national housing crashes, they've happened a couple of times. Now, let's talk about housing crash. Usually, housing crashes are very regional. Think the oil bust. Think San Diego when the military left. Think when I think it was North Dakota or Montana or whatever when all the shale left. Right. Usually, it's very regional.
Mhm.
National housing declines are very unusual, statistically speaking. Usually, they go down altogether. Usually, it's like the Great Recession. Everything went down.
Mhm.
I believe what we're going through right now is very different because, as I've said many times, I think the Fed broke the housing market. And when I say that, people don't understand what I mean. I believe the Fed broke the housing market 2 years ago when they gave everybody and their brother an opportunity to get mortgage rates below 3%, whether that was a purchase or a refi.
Right.
So, what does that mean? That means there's an entire generation of buyers who won't be selling unless there's 2 or 3 life events.
Mhm.
The average tenure of a mortgage is 8 years. I think that's going to expand over the next decade because
Right.
people aren't going to move. So what the Fed did is they destroyed supply. The housing market is a transaction-based business where you need a buyer and a seller. So when I called the housing crash and was now proven right, we dropped off 40% of transactions. That is meaningful. We're
Mhm.
not going back to 6.5 million transactions for years because supply is not showing up. Now, in this realm, we are going to see this time luxury and second home markets take it on the chin. Why? Because there's no flipping inventory at first time home buyer homes. There just isn't. The low end of the market, the cheaper end of the market, whatever you want to call that, I call it 75% of the median in your market. There's no freaking inventory. So no, it's not normal. This one is different, in my opinion.
Again, a little more context. A lot of people seem to have some sort of heartburn with the idea that just because they have a great payment and a low rate, they're not going to be willing to sell. Some people think that that's not going to materialize, which surprises me because there's already evidence for that type of behavior already. I think of this young lady I know from New York. Her family owns a sixplex that they've had in the generation for forever. Well, they have very, very strict rent control laws over there. And so they have tenants who are best described as legacy tenants. These people got in 25 years ago, and even if they've outgrown the apartment, even if they'd
Yep.
rather move somewhere else, unless they're moving states away, they literally cannot make sense financially of doubling or tripling their rent by moving out of the unit they're in. And even though my friend desperately wants to sell this sixplex, they can't because they have to either buy the tenants out or wait for them to expire so they can convert it to condos and sell the building. So if people are willing to stay through everything because they've got such a low payment in an apartment, I just don't see it being that much different in a house. Would you want to double your interest rate and double your payment for one extra bedroom? Probably not.
No, I believe most folks are financially illiterate, but everybody understands their housing costs. They look at a mortgage payment, which ideally they pay monthly, or a rent payment. And I talked to the uneducated economist who has a monster YouTube channel, and he said it clear as day. And I talked to Lance Lambert, Fortune editor for housing, right? This guy is housing everything. Both of them said, we got into a house around 3% money. They're not going anywhere. The uneducated economist says, I couldn't rent a 2-bedroom apartment for what my 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom house on a lot costs.
Right.
He's not down selecting and having his expenses going up. Lance Lambert, Fortune editor, who comes on every Thursday, says, I should have bought a bigger home because my wife's pregnant. I'm like, go buy some bunk beds. He's like, you're not kidding. I'm going to have to buy bunk beds. Folks, it's the supply is not coming. So this market is going to be, the good news is if you're a financial rock star like Millennial Mike, you can go buy a luxury property at a big discount. But yeah, no, this housing, again, it's not a crash, and that's what drives people crazy. It's not when people talk crash, they usually talk price. I've been very clear. I called it early. I've been proven right. It's transaction-based crash.
Well, you're getting ahead. I got next question. Let me tee you up for this. Hold on. The very next question